her attorney. Yes, good evening, Alex. A lot of people wondering that, and prosecutors say they are reviewing the several crashes involving Nicole Linton, as her attorney says she suffers from mental health issues. Nicole Linton appearing in court, charged with 6 counts of murder and 5 counts of gross vehicular manslaughter after a deadly and traumatizing crash in Windsor Hills. Linton, at times emotional during the hearing, as prosecutors laid out their case against her, saying Linton was involved in 13 previous accidents in and out of the state.
The most recent of which we are aware is a 2020 collision in which 2 vehicles were totaled and there was bodily injury.
And in the Windsor Hills case, several were injured and 6 killed, including Asheray Ryan, her 11-month-old baby, her boyfriend, and their unborn child, along with 2 other unidentified women.
We are trying to answer the question of, we know what happened, but why it happened.
Why the crash happened is a major question. District Attorney George Gascon says there's no evidence of alcohol or drugs used by Linton, but her defense attorney argues mental health could be a factor.
It is becoming more and more evident as our investigation continues that this is an incident, an episode that was caused in large part by documented profound mental health issues that Ms. Linton has been suffering from over a period of years.
Criminal defense attorney and legal analyst Lou Shapiro weighs in.
Anything of like a mental health issue, if someone is very depressed or suicidal or something of that sort, that could play into sympathy and compassion by the prosecution and the judge. However, when we're dealing with stakes this high, with deaths and violence, so to speak, that can only go so far.
And mental health expert John Silimparis, speaking on the 7 p.m. special report, says it's possible mental health isn't to blame for this case.
Say that the truth is that, carrying out, violence or, executing violence on other people is not very common with mental illness. And when it does happen, there are usually many, many other factors that play into that.
Linton was denied bail at her hearing, leading her to tears. She now faces up to life in prison if convicted of all charges, as the case makes its way through the court system and the community grieves.
Hi, you guys. I just wanted to come and to touch on this whole car crash that happened in Los Angeles with the nurse, Nicole Linton. Now, I don't know if you guys remember the day this actually happened. The media, there was a woman who walked up to the media on the street, and she said she was a friend of Nicole's and that Nicole had been drinking and that she was upset over a breakup, right? However, and I'm not, this just kind of happened, I think, a week ago. So the media may double back on this person who went to the media and said all this because, to my understanding, as you guys can hear from the report, they do not have any evidence that she was under the influence of alcohol. And so I'm kind of curious to know why that person put that out there. And who was that person? Was she really a friend to Nicole? That didn't get past me because I know a lot of people, some people here on YouTube were creating content around, she's upset over a breakup. But we really didn't know that to be true, right? We didn't even know if this lady who was talking was really her friend. And so I'm curious to see what that was about, if they decide to double back on that. I'm speaking of the media because they did allow her to get in the media and make that statement. But you can hear the lawyer saying that there's no evidence to prove that she was under the influence of alcohol. And she has a history of accidents, and there were no DUIs involved in those accidents. So it could be severe mental illness or issues, whatever you choose to call it. And so it just made me wonder, as the Daily Mail, one of their writers were bringing up, how was she allowed to work as a nurse practitioner, right? She was going through registry or nurse pools, whatever you choose to call it, where she was going as a travel nurse, going around the country working covering for staff that were short of staff. And that's kind of why they have registry and nurse pools, because they're short of staff, and they will bring these people in and have them working for X amount of time with the hospital. But they still should be doing background checks on these people and other forms of investigation of who they're bringing into these hospitals. That's what I think. Because, and I also feel like the cities where she was getting these tickets or whatever, or getting into these car accidents, somebody should have made the conscious decision to suspend her license as well, because this could have been avoided. And I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm just saying you can see how this kind of escalated because of her, the fact that she was entitled. She was entitled. She was entitled because no one was taking her license from her. People were not saying anything to her, allowing her to go into these hospitals, change IVs, and give people medication. And nurse practitioners can actually work as doctors. They're under a physician, and so, under a physician and higher than an RN. So she, in essence, was going into hospitals acting in the function of a doctor. And this lady, you guys are saying this lady has severe mental illness or severe mental issues. Either all of that is just a cover by these lawyers, or, people were really dropping the ball where she was concerned, and that's why she felt entitled to get out in the streets and go however many miles she was going, because they're saying maybe she wasn't going 100 miles, but that was ridiculous speed. I mean, that was before you could blink your eyes good, her car had already slammed into all of these other cars. And so I don't know, what did you guys think about all of this? It's disturbing when you start really reading into her and her background, as far as her having 13 accidents already and totaling out people's cars and injuring people in the past already. And because she's not permanently based anywhere, she lives in Houston. They're saying that she actually resides in Houston. But because she was traveling around the country, she probably was having accidents in all these different places. However, these can pull, FBI, whomever, they can pull these reports, and they see the things that you're doing all around the country. There is such a thing as a national search, and especially when you apply for certain positions, in particular within the government, they are supposed to do a national background check on you, not just a local one. And so these people should have known she was having all these accidents and causing all this, these injuries and stuff. And someone should have been asking questions about that. And her license should have been suspended. Like 13 accidents, 13. Like, I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And so I do agree with the Daily Mail. Like, where was there was some type of breakdown in allowing someone, simply because they were educated, to just go out into the world and do all this stuff like that. Her license should have been suspended. It doesn't matter what her position is and how educated she is. When you're out here affecting other people's lives who may not have what you have, that's not okay. And look at all these people's lives she took. It's kind of outrageous when you really think about it. And so I don't know who is supposed to take responsibility for this outside of her. Because if she knew, and she's a doctor as well, if she knew that she needed help, she should have been getting the help that she needed. You're in the medical field. And so this is not supposed to get brushed off as some mental health she lost it type thing, because clearly she been lost it, and people were just ignoring the fact that she lost it a long time ago. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about all of this. Do you understand what the Daily Mail was trying to raise? Like, how is this woman allowed to go into a hospital and treat people? And you guys are now out here talking about she's suffering from severe mental illness. Maybe she's not suffering from severe mental illness. It's impossible that you guys allowed her to change people's IVs, to prescribe medication to people. She could have just so many things that could have gone wrong in these hospitals. And I'm curious to know if these stories will come out, of people or from people that she has probably treated in the name of these hospitals. I think they said in Los Angeles she was working for a Kaiser. So I'm curious to know if this story is going to escalate in that way, because you can't sit out here and say somebody like that is severely mental ill, and they've been working as a doctor. It's disturbing to say that, and I think that this country need to do better in looking into their staff, as far as if that is in fact true, that she has all these issues. With her being in the medical field, she should have been getting the help that she need before she would be allowed to see patients like that. That's just my opinion. But I think that what happened, what was happening, is that she was traveling, and so these people were, as long as she had the certification, they were not looking at her as an individual. They were just looking at the fact that she was licensed, her license was up to date, and that was it. They were not looking at the individual to make sure that she was capable of handling that role. And it makes you think twice about going into these hospitals, right? I'm just saying. So I do agree with the staff at Daily Mail. Like, there is something not right about them trying to use this defense that she was severely mentally ill. She could not possibly have been that and then work in that function, right? I think if she was anything else, people might be able to buy into what they're saying. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. Do you think, like I'm saying, because she was traveling, she was spending maybe 4 or 5 months in, I think they even said she was here in the state that I'm in, child. I think I was reading something like that, but I digress. But she was in California and obviously in Texas and other parts of the country. And no one was really looking into her background as far as her medical records, her arrest for having all these other accidents, and or being responsible, I should say, for all these other car accidents. Obviously, she wouldn't not have been arrested because she would have had excuse after excuse of why she was having the accident. As long as her license and her insurance and registration was up to date, they probably were not looking at her and in a criminal aspect, right? However, after you keep seeing that somebody is having car accident after car accident, people should be looking into that as to why is that, and probably feeling the need to suspend her license, right? Because there was clearly something that people were not picking up on for somebody to have 12, 13 accidents, and she's only like 37. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.